All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Surgery for the Soul. We have a very, very special guest today with us, Mr. Robert Deaton, a very good friend of mine, another fellow spiritual warrior out in these streets. Welcome on.
Glad to be on. Thank you so much. Peace to the Queen for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, when I have someone on to interview, I like to start with an icebreaker question to loosen it up a little bit.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions that I couldn't decide on, but let's see. What's the worst trouble you were in as a child?
Wow. Oh, man, that's a lot. That's a lot. I remember, I think the worst though, man, the worst was when I got caught having sex.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I got caught. Yeah, I got caught. It was pretty bad. I was totally embarrassed. I was ashamed. And my mom was like disgusted. Like,
Oh, man.
this was my godmother, you know what I'm saying? So I was over at my godparents' house. I don't want to go all into it, but
Oh, it's all good.
it was a funny story though afterward, after the fact. Like,
You can laugh about it.
yeah, I can laugh. Everybody laughed about it, especially my godfather, like, because he the one that walked in on me, and this he walked in, he looked for a minute, and he paused for a minute, and then he said, "Boy, get your ass out of here."
I can only imagine how embarrassing that was at the time, but I'm glad that you can find, and the family can find humor in it now.
Right. 'Cause it's natural to have attractions, and it's natural to have sex, to make love,
That's true. Making love. For myself, for that question, I was in high school, and a friend of mine and I, who didn't have our licenses, we took her mom's car to get Taco Bell. And so we essentially stole her mom's car. And then my dad found out. I have no idea. Like, he knew before the parents did, and he found us, and he started following us around. I was like, Tina, my dad's behind us. No joke. He's been tailing us. We got to go. He just shows up.
Your dad is the bomb. He the truth. He got inside connects. I'm telling you, they got drones in the sky right now.
Terrifying, man. Terrifying. Well, to get down to it, so I'll just give a brief description of some things that you are a part of and what you've accomplished. So Robert is a public speaker. He's the co-founder of an after-school program, life coach for adults with disabilities, and he is a parental alienation activist. And that is super new to me. I wasn't aware of that, so I'm really excited for you to share that with us. But a spiritual warrior and my spiritual brother at that. So I'm really excited to hear the process of your spiritual awakening. If we want to start with that.
Okay. Wow. Just my foundation is like both of my parents are highly spiritual. And so I had a pretty good foundation. Like my dad went to biblical college. He's military as well. My mother, she's more of the energetic spiritualist. So she deals more with the energy through prayer and through verbal affirmations. So I was able to get the intellectual side from my dad, and then the more energetic side from my mom, and combine those two from a foundational standpoint.
Right.
But then how I was able to break away in my own right was the personal experiences that I had. Like most people forget, their life story, their experiences. But I have a really great memory, and I remember everything. And I remember when I was 11 years old, this was a pivotal moment in my change. When I was 11 years old, I was running home in the rain with this guy named Miko that lived in my neighborhood. He was another kid. I was 11. He's like 16. And we were running home in the rain. There was a dog that was chasing us. And when we looked back, the dog stopped chasing us. And then we looked at each other and laughed. And before we knew it, boom, lightning had struck beside us and knocked us both unconscious. We were on the ground. Yes. We were on the ground, face down in the street. And I woke up first. I opened my eyes and I was on the street, on the pavement, and he was laying next to me and he didn't wake up yet. And I was 11. So this was a very traumatizing moment, but it also was a very spiritual moment because who experiences this? Like we didn't get injured, right? But we were knocked unconscious by lightning. And when you look up the spiritual meaning for lightning, it means lightning strikes a sacred person to mark a sacred person or a sacred place, right? And so at that moment, I was being marked as a sacred person.
Wow. Okay.
Sacred person. And so was Miko. And so was Miko, because he was there too to experience it.
Wow.
So I knew something was different about my walk. You know what I mean? I knew it. And more things started occurring, you know, just having dreams that felt like visions. And then being able to see these people in my dreams and then see them in this time, in this dimension. Like I would see people. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey, you know, of spiritual awakening things occurring outside of just the religious structure. So I dealt with the religious structure because of my dad's side. So I'm a scholar in that regard. So I studied the Bible. I studied the history of the Bible, right? So I was able to grasp that side of it and then see how, that side of it really takes people away from understanding their personal story.
Right.
And connecting, right, with the spiritual things that are happening by design in their individual lives. Because everything has meaning. Every person you meet or circumstance you go through, it has meaning. But if you're not focused and aware of it, you miss the messages. You miss the messages.
You miss the messages and you miss the lessons.
You missed the lessons, yeah.
Yes. And I feel like that's what happened with me for the majority of my life until I was awakened. And
oh, wow. Welcome back.
Yeah. Welcome back. Thank you.
To yourself. Yeah.
To my true self.
Your true self.
Yes. For the first time, actually. And I can relate to your upbringing. Just grew up in a religious home, a Baptist Christian home. And I believed in it. I always believed in it, but it never resonated. It never left me feeling like certain. It never made me feel moved to the part of emotion. And ever since I have become awakened, I'm just a more emotional person. I can, like, I'll just start tearing up at movies and TV shows, things that I would never, ever do before, that are supposed to be like, have a little comic relief to it. But if there's some kind of torture type of situation, I immediately, like, I have to turn it off. So that's some differences that I've noticed as well. But also, just the influences of people's energy also affect me a lot. So I have to self-isolate at times because I can feel the room around me. I can feel people's emotions, if they're angry, if they're upset, or if they're genuinely happy or envious. I can feel it a lot. So it took some time for me to understand my gifts, and I'm really I'm a lot more open about it now. When I was really hesitant and scared of it, not really believing, but there's too many synchronicities that I've had that I can't hide it anymore. Like, and now I just want to share it with the world. And I'm glad you are doing the same. So, so as far as like your conscious awareness, like, can you tell me a time where the past version of yourself may have reacted differently to a negative situation, and how your new consciousness level, like operating out of your higher consciousness, has changed the way you react to the negative things in life?
Oh yeah, and that's a beautiful question. Beautiful question. I think that in the past, right? I would experience where somebody would offend me without just cause, right?
Right.
And I used to take that personal, right? And for a moment in time, I was bothered, right? They actually got to my internal self with that behavior. But now that I have become more awakened to how energy works and how mental health works, I understand that how people project their energy is a direct reflection of what's happening inside of them.
Right.
And so now that I know that, I never take anything anybody say personal. That's number one. Number two is I maintain my inner peace regardless of what's happening outside of me, right? Because this is my universe. This is my world inside of here. And so even if I feel myself getting bothered or anxiety, I have affirmations. So I say to myself over and over again, my peace comes from within. Nothing outside of me can affect my inner peace. I am peace. I am peace. And I say that over and over again, and I feel myself begin to calm down. And now I'm back in harmony with self again. And now I can look at, the things outside of me for what they are and not take it personal, and then move and make adjustments accordingly. So it's like you have to master yourself. You got to master yourself. Yeah. And that's a part of mastering yourself is being able to protect your inner peace from anything out here being able to get in. So negative and positive is a part of the universe, so you need those experiences in order for you to become the best version of yourself.
Yes, exactly. That was beautiful what you said, and I resonate with that fully. On the episode 6, the one before this, I was trying to explain it, but I was kind of rambling, and it was just me. It was my first episode by myself, not interviewing someone. So like trying to explain a situation with someone where they projected on me. Like you explained it so much more clear than I could ever explain it.
It's all good. That's why we're a team. We're a team.
Oh, yes, I love it.
Yes.
We are a team. So in saying that, I can, what you said about not taking that in, and that it's like, this is a constant game that we're playing. Like you can't just say I'm healed and then you're good. And it's always like, you're always tested. And like when you get tested, like you said, you have these affirmations that you go to, and your affirmations were really good. And sometimes it takes us a few times to get in that mind state that when someone does offend us or trigger us, that, hey, take a step back, process, and come back to yourself. And that's currently that's where I'm coming from, because I feel like as spiritual warriors, we are kind of we may be looked at as outcasts. I feel like anyone that has had some kind of spiritual awakening or they may be looked at as a black sheep or an outcast. But I feel like that projection it allows us to see the people that aren't aligned, or I would say, I like to compare it to the Matrix, like taking the blue pill or the red pill kind of thing. Like they're woke, they're not, or you're woke or they're not, but also not having hate towards them or any kind of judgment towards them just because they're unaware. Like it's not their fault. They don't understand. They're not at that consciousness level. So that's where compassion comes from. So
there you go.
Yes. So I've become a much more forgiving person because of that, just not holding grudges anymore. If someone doesn't know any better, then it's not on you to be mean to them or try to force it on them to understand. So that's really enlightening that you have that together.
We have it together, and so do you. So do you.
Thank you.
Yes. In this moment, you just gained new tools, right?
Yes.
Like in this moment, and now you speak that, and now your subconscious mind will then download that data and send it to the conscious mind. And now when circumstances come up, guess what'll happen now? That information will come forward and you will be able to use it.
Yes, yeah. I love that. And let me tell you guys, so I met Robert at Monday Night Jazz, and he was doing like spoken word, and it moved me to the point of where I got emotional. And that's why he is on this show. I was like, I have to have him on. His words have power, and your voice is a gift. And I'm just so happy you're here. I just had to throw that out there. So I'm glad that you're here and sharing your gifts with us.
Thank you so much. I'm honored and I'm humbled. I'm so grateful.
All right, on to this next question. So after that, how would you say that you process emotions, and have you had any kind of stint with depression or mental health issues?
Oh, most definitely. I think everyone deals with mental health issues at some point in their life and deals with depression, whether it be extensive moments of depression or maybe, short moments. But we all deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. But I think for me, the first time I really dealt with like deep depression is when we lost our younger brother in 2010. He was 25. It was unexpected, and it was shocking. And at that time, I was married. I had a son. I was teaching in the school system. Had a lot going on, and I was just stuck. Because in my mind, I was, when you go through the stages of grief, one of those stages of grief is you begin to think about what you could have done differently that maybe could have saved your loved one, maybe prolong their existence on this earth, Mm-hmm. So I went through that phase of thinking about, man, I was occupied with my marriage at that time, and I had just had my son. He was only 3 months old. Wow. And I felt like I didn't spend enough time with my little brother, because before he passed, he came up to Nashville and he spent the week with us, and he went to work with me at the school. He talked to the kids, mm-hmm. and I felt like I wasn't totally present in that moment. And I felt like this was him reaching out to me, but he didn't verbally say it. This was him through his actions. The fact that he came up here, at that time I had been in Nashville, 15 years. Wow. And he had never came up here before, but he actually came up here and stayed a week with me. So that was a sign. And I wasn't totally conscious of that, And so that made me feel depressed. It made me feel deep sorrow, And it wasn't until my son's mother told me, and this was 2 years later, I went through a grieving process for 2 years. I was functioning, but I still was not fully present. I was grieving. And it wasn't until she came to me and she said, one day, she came to me and she said, Nehemiah, we need you back. And it dawned on me when she said that, it shook me out of that depression state, because I was like, man, I was unaware that, I was gone to you. You know what I mean? I guess she was letting me grieve, but I had been grieving a little bit too long at that point, to whereas I guess it was beginning to mentally affect her and spiritually affect her. Right. And so now I came out of it, and then I began to reassess, and I grew, and I found a way to express my love for my brother and his energy by reading his poetry. So that's how I got into doing spoken word. That's why I grew my hair out. Like I never had long hair. He had long hair. He
Oh
had
my
locks.
goodness.
So I began to express my brother's energy, and that is what ushered in my healing. So I really transmuted the depression and the sorrow energy into something more constructive that was love and light. So
Wow. That's huge. And I am so sorry for your loss.
thank you.
That is an extreme tragedy. And what you did there, turning something negative into a positive influence, is literally what it's all about. Because just because someone's spiritual doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to them time to time. And the amazing thing about being spiritual is that you know that you can always try to find at least one positive in there to generate and become magnetic for something positive in the end, which you have done with your word and your voice. He's living through you now in a positive way with your poetry and spoken word and rocking that long hair.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You turned it into something beautiful.
Yeah. It took some time. So we have to be patient and persistent, patient and persistent. And then we have to map out a strategy and stick to the strategy,
Right.
And I promise you things will change, and the innovation and the creativity will come to your spirit, because we're channels. It's like we are conduits for energy and information that flows through us when we're vibrating properly, when we're seeking, to gain this information. It will come to you.
Right.
It will definitely come to you. So you have to be in a space of peace, harmony, and silence sometimes. And journaling helped me out a lot. Like, this is my journal now. Every day I'm hustling.
I love that.
Right? So this is my every day I'm hustling on my spiritual growth, my mental health awareness, right? It's right here.
I love that.
Just,
I'm right
just
there with you. Right there
come on
with
with it. Yeah.
Mine's not as cool as yours. Mine looks like a witch's coven book.
Hey, and I'm loving that, because the witchy energy is vibrating real high right now. See, we've been trained wrong to think about witches. We've been trained to think that they were someone that was evil, right? No, witches were highly spiritual beings that understood how to transmute energy and understood alchemy, right? So
exactly.
So you rocking with power over there.
Yes, it's just
never forget that.
Yes, I love that you said that. It's another form of manifestation. Like, some people use crystal. I got my crystals too, actually. I got my little bow.
Oh, look at you with the witchy energy.
Yes.
I'm loving it.
Just like there's some bad people in the world, there's bad witches, but there's also good witches, good people. So it goes hand in hand. So I'm so glad that you said that. Yeah. And speaking of change, you brought up change. There's a very important date approaching us on Tuesday, 2/22/2022.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you think a change is coming? Do you feel the change coming?
Yeah, change is already here. Now we're just elevating constantly. The vibration is increasing constantly. If you're in tune, like I'm outside right now, there have been birds flying around, walking around me the entire time. Just understanding the synchronicities that are constantly occurring, like rapidly. Like, there's rapid synchronicities occurring. There's rapid dreaming in the dream world where you're getting message like frequently, right?
Right.
And everybody's awareness is waking up. That's why we went through COVID. The reason why this region, like Nashville, is so special in this region, right, is because we were able to experience a few things prior to COVID that let us know we were moving into a new dimensional change. There was a paradigm shift about to occur. One thing that happened was we experienced the solar eclipse. Remember that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's where the sun and the moon totally encompassed itself, and it went from day to night. The sky was purple. I never forget that.
Yep,
right?
same.
And then we also experienced a tornado. We experienced a tornado, right? Then we also, what else did we experience? We experienced a flood.
Oh,
We experienced
yes.
a flood here. Like there were things happening here to prep us for what was to come.
Right.
And then we experienced COVID. And then within COVID, we experienced a bombing. Remember? Downtown.
The Christmas Day. Yeah, the Christmas Day bombing. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So just like you said, there's a duality to all things. So sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, whenever there are changes taking place in the universe, in space, in our galaxy, there's gonna also be some changes and some experiences on the physical plane where you can see where things are happening that man has done,
right,
and things that nature has done. Because as above, so below, right? These are ancient principles that occur. That's why, you know, in the Lord's Prayer, they say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Where? In heaven as it is on earth. So that is a symbolic meaning for as above, so below. So the changes that take place in the cosmos also create changes here in this realm as well.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And these earthly occurrences that are happening, it really humbles you. It really takes the power out of your hands, and you realize you're not in control. And that's where the gratitude happens for everything you have. And you were actually helping out in Kentucky where most of the devastation happened and occurred. And do you want to talk about that? What you saw, some of the things you saw in the tornado?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that, you know, that experience, and that's what my life is built on, creating experiences that increase people's awareness and increase their vibration and increase their awareness on who they really are. And I seek them out. So I went out there to Kentucky, Mayfield, Kentucky, because they really got it bad from this recent tornado, you know. And I went out there, I dedicated 3 days. I said, I'm going to dedicate 3 days. And, you know, going out there and seeing an entire city basically just wiped out. I mean, it looked like a bomb, like it was a war zone, like a bomb had exploded and just spread it over the whole city. And then just seeing the state of the people, they were devastation everywhere, you know. And we were, you know, tarping houses. We were on top of roofs and tarping roofs because rain was coming. Because some people's houses didn't get a lot of damage, and they were still living in those houses because they couldn't afford to go anywhere else.
Right.
So, you know, all of the houses around them were destroyed, but they were one of the fortunate ones where their roof only got torn up. So we were tarping roofs. We were giving out food. We were giving out water. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. We were trying to give people laughter, giving people messages of hope, and giving people strategies of how they could resolve some of the issues that they were facing. And we even prayed with the people there too. It was a magnificent experience of humility and humanitarianism. Right. And I needed that experience, and everybody that was there needed that experience, you know. And I wanted them to feel that, hey, there are people that care. There are people that are present with us, right? And I also wanted to see, like, what was left standing. What was left standing? Like, what street signs were left standing, right?
Interesting.
Because nature always leaves us a message to let you know, right? And would you believe, like, that was a street sign. That was this street totally destroyed, light pole down. And then there was a street sign next to the light pole that's on the ground. The street sign was 12th and Dr. Martin Luther King. Blew me away because, yes, 12th and Dr. Martin Luther King was still standing. It was still standing.
Wow.
So that blew me away because I'm looking at the spirit of Dr. King now in this moment. And what drew me to Mayfield, Kentucky was the spirit of humanitarianism, right? This was a humanitarian act. Like, I took it upon myself to take 3 days out of my life right, to go spend to help someone else for free without wanting any money or anything, gas to get there, anything, right? That is what you call a humanitarian. And Dr. King, everybody knows, operated with the humanitarian spirit. And that is what the tornado, the spirit behind the tornado, was highlighting, that we should be embodying in this time, right? Not being governed by the race construct, not allowing things to cause separation between us as humanity, correcting the issues of the past together, confronting those things of the past that we all know that were wrong and that cause issues that deprive people of the ability to grow without encumbrance, right? So correcting those things, but not making people feel bad about things that happened in the past that they didn't do. Maybe those they were connected did, but let's still move forward and take accountability and grow, because you can go down any line of people and in their lineage, they've done some things that were negative to other generations of people. Right. And that's what taught me, being a person that studies history. I'm able to see the full picture and not just this recent history. Well, let's go beyond this recent history, and we open up a whole new understanding of human behavior. So, so thank you for bringing that up, too.
Of course. I'm so glad you were there. I'm so glad your energy was there. I know you helped out so much. You're breaking generational curses for sure within your family and surrounding areas. And that was a very scary night. That night rattled me. I know it went past my apartment. I looked out the window. I know you're not supposed to, but I looked out the window and I couldn't see anything. Like, I couldn't make out anything. It was just too much flying around, and it was raining.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It literally went by, like it went by East Nashville for the second time. Yes. So it was so scary. And I was just, and in my heart, there's been times where I've had near-death experiences and I didn't feel right about perishing. And at that moment, I was okay. I was like, I'm doing good. I do right by people. I feel, I'm like, I don't want to go. But if it's my time, I feel good within my heart and soul to leave this earth. But I still have more work to do. So I'm still here.
That's a beautiful place to be. That's beautiful, Allie.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I used to think it was so scary, and now I'm just like, no, that's a peaceful place, and I'm at a peaceful state. So it's definitely a good place to be. So parental alienation. Yes. And are you the one that founded this?
Oh, no. This is something that's been a fight, under the radar for like 20 years to most people. There's a group called Fathers' Rights Movement. And then and there's a team of lawyers. There's a team of lawyers in California. And this is what helped me along my journey. So, I researched because I was really trying to understand, like, man, what is this call that I'm going through? Like, I knew that the actions and the behaviors that were being done towards me by my son's mother, I knew it wasn't right. But I didn't know how to describe it besides coercive power. Like, I had, I located that term in my book from, restorative practices, which was a course that I was teaching in Metro City Schools. So I found coercive powers when someone uses outside authority, to empower them against someone else. So, so I use the term coercive power. But then once I started studying in this law firm in California, that's when I came into the terminology of parental alienation. And then I took a step further and I started studying the School of Psychiatry, and I realized that this term, parental alienation, is actually in the DSM-5, the School of Psychiatry. It's a diagnosis that is on record. So I'm like, wow, okay. So parental alienation, what it is It is when two people have a child and one person decides after you break up, right, or get a divorce, that I don't want to allow you to see the child for whatever reason.
Right.
So I'm then going to apply a method of trying to distance you from the child and then distance you emotionally. So not just physically, but I'm going to make sure that our child emotionally doesn't have those ties to you anymore.
Wow.
So that I can move on with another man, and then that this child now latches on to this new man, because I'm going to make sure you're out of the picture by filing false charges on you. I'm going to destroy your reputation, destroy your life, right? And then after, I mean, this is stuff that has been documented.
Right.
Like it's basically like a cookie cutter behavior list that I identified, and my son's mother has completed everything on the checklist, from filing false charges of abuse, filing order protection, filing false charges of assault on me, on her. And I went to trial for all of these things and not guilty for everything in Tennessee. Like, it's rare in Tennessee that for a melanated man, especially with natural hair, goes into a courtroom after being accused of assault on his wife, and then go to trial, right? After losing 3 jobs, career jobs, career opportunities.
Yeah.
And after trial, not guilty of all charges, twice, 2 different charges. And then after that, she went to DCS custody and filed a form of abuse. She filed abuse on me and my son. Like, I'm abusing my son. And so they then, and this was very hurtful, because the DCS custody worker went to my son's school, pulled him out of class, and then questioned him about me hitting him, right? Then I had to go to the DCS custody office. They interviewed me, and then they separately interviewed his mom, right?
Right.
So it came back, there's no evidence of abuse here. You two need to go back to court and work out your parenting plan. This is what the lady told me. And then when I got my son on my next visitation, and that's when his mother was following the parenting plan a little bit, right? So this particular weekend, she released him to me. And when I got him back, he told me, he said, "Daddy, this lady came up to my school last week and she pulled me out of class. And Daddy, you won't believe what she asked me." I said, "What did she ask you, son?" "She asked me if you ever hit me." And I said, "Well, what did you say?" And then he said, "Why would you even ask me that?" This is what my 8-year-old son at the time told me.
Right.
Why would you even ask me that? So think about, from his perspective, this is where the abuse comes from in parental alienation.
Right.
Now he has to think about who activated this lady to come and get him. Is he connecting that to his mom? Is he connecting this to his teacher? Is he connecting this to his principal? Why is he even having to analyze and think about this stuff?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So this thing gets deep, and I have to fight. So I'm a key component to advocating for my child, because I reached out, and this is why I have such an issue with our elders, because I reached out to her father, her mother, her uncles, people on her side. None of them are present, and none of them are willing to give her the accountability that she needs. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. How can you file for an abuse of me on my child, and at the same time you're filing this abuse? I'm teaching in Metro City schools with hundreds of kids. I'm also teaching at a summer camp program, teaching communication at a church. So I'm around children and developing children at the same time that you're filing abuse on me against my own child. And nobody thought that was like, that's sociopathic behavior.
It's emotional abuse for you and your son as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so sorry you had to endure that and affected your career and your fatherhood and probably relationships with, like, on the outside of the relationship that was.
How can I be in a relationship? How can I get remarried? How can I, have a space where I can seriously date a woman when I got all of this going on in my life? So I haven't been able to have a relationship. I just had to accept that.
Yeah, wow. And to have the spirit that you have, currently, and just be so high vibrational, even going through that, would you say that has ceased for you? Like that kind of sabotage at your life, has that ceased now? That kind of abuse?
Parental alienation doesn't stop until the parent that's alienated a child has the child completely removed from them. And then they have to then earn through counseling and through steps to be back in the child's life again. This is according to the reports that have been made by psychologists, is that, but see, in order for me to get in that position, I have to go through the courts, and I represent myself. Right. Like I'm not hiring a lawyer to represent me in circuit court, because I did that before. And these lawyers do not know how to properly represent me in my situation. This is my son.
Right.
So there's no way I'm going to sit back, pay you, and then sit back and let you not properly pursue me getting my son and me expressing my story of pain, which me and my son have gone through. No, I'm articulate enough. I am persistent in studying law enough, right, to where I can represent myself, and I've been doing that for the last 6 years. Wow. And so I'm preparing right now to go back into court. So this is me coming up with the presentational strategies, coming up with the PowerPoint presentation, presenting the laws, because you have to present things according to these codes. So I have to study out of those codes. So I've done that, and I'm ready. So we're prepping. My team and I is prepping to go back into court soon. And it's, it's been quite the journey, but as a spiritual warrior, as you know, we built for this. Right. Nothing will destroy us. Nothing will beat us. Nothing will defeat us, because we're spiritual warriors. And the cosmic energy is always on our side. Mm-hmm. Always giving us the tools that we need, placing the people that we need in our lives, that will give us that extra oomph, that will push us forward and help us navigate these treacherous waters as we continue to spread love in the midst, though. In the midst of the storm, we still motivating people and loving on people and raising people awareness as we carry all of this weight on our own shoulders. That's what makes us spiritual warriors.
That's huge. Yep. That's huge what you said. We're always protected. And that's one of the qualities, or a sign of a spiritual warrior, is you've been through some sort of trauma, or you're going through some sort of trauma. You're not sent on this earth to be a warrior if you haven't endured the most insurmountable amount of pain, because it allows you to be empathetic towards people that are going through something. It allows you to see yourself in their shoes and to offer encouraging words in love and light. And I'll be praying for the best outcome for you when your court date comes, and sending lots of love and light your way.
Thank you.
Yes, that's not easy, but I know you got it. If anyone, I know you got it.
Thank you so much for that vote of confidence.
Mm-hmm. So we're closing up now. Would you like to ask me a question before we go?
Oh, most definitely.
Anything you're curious about?
Yeah, there's a lot of curiosity that I have. So I'm just curious, like, so what inspired you to create your podcast, The Surgery for the Soul? And how did you come up with that name?
Wow.
Such an adequate name.
Thank you. Well, I started it with a friend of mine. Her name is Trisha. We started the journey together, but she was going through a depressive time, and I was going through something at the same time. So we are kind of just piggybacking off of each other and sharing information for healing. And then we came up with the idea like, wow, we could really help people with the things that we experience. And mine started, it was like, my past is, there's quite a few traumatic events, but mostly it was just narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse and things of that nature that I never knew of. I didn't know encountered. Me being a genuinely honest person, I thought other people were. So me taking other people's words as fact kind of put me in a cycle of a lot of unhealthy relationships because I just believe. I believe in people.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not crazy.
No, it's not crazy. But the fault that I wasn't trusting in was myself, my intuition. I've been blessed with a very clairvoyant gift and a very strong intuition. And I always had feelings when someone was lying or giving half truths or just not their energy being off. I can just tell. I'm just like, oh, I don't like that person. People are like, hey, cool. I'll be like, no, he was wrong. and then something will happen. And then they'll be like, man, you were right about, I was like, I told you. I was like, I can feel ill intent. I can feel it. Yes. So now that I am embracing my gifts, I don't feel like I'll have those kinds of situations again being manipulated, but that's how it started. So I want to just open the door and have a nice platform where people feel safe to share those kinds of experiences.
Most definitely.
Yes, just be there for one another and not feel like you're alone. And the name, gosh, we went through a few. I don't honestly, surgery for the soul.
That is amazing, man. I mean, God, I've never heard surgery being connected to the soul like that before in my entire life.
Well, I'm trying to think back to what we were talking about, but it's soul work. Like, your soul needs work too, because if you've been in a constant cycle and you have to brand yourself and build yourself back up from the bottom, and you've been to you started at the ground, and you have to build yourself up, like you're really cleaning out your soul and you're really just becoming one with yourself. So I feel like that's where the name came from, for sure.
Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Kudos to you all. Hey, I wanted to share this book too. Yeah. Gotta get this. Yes, by Supernova and his mom, Queen of Four. This is the Wellness Warrior's Journey to Self-Mastery.
I love that.
Yes, this is great for men and women to read because it helps women understand men better and the healing path of men. And it definitely helps men understand their own healing path because we don't have a lot of spaces and places where it deals with mental health for men and healing strategies for men. And so now there are more being created. So I look forward to facilitating these spaces for other men, as well as co-facilitating spaces for men and women to be together to talk about our healing together.
Yes.
Right? We need to do that too.
Oh, yes, 100%. And I'm so glad you shared that book with us and recommendation. I wrote it down. I'll definitely be getting it on Amazon because I love knowing the male perspective and the Black male perspective and them knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable and to open up about mental health and all that. It's healing. We're all human, so I'm so glad you shared that importance as a man to be open about it and to express.
Thank you.
Express yourself
Yeah.
and all that.
Most definitely. I mean, like we're not robots, and I think a part of society for a long time in the past looked at melanated men in particular as not having feelings and not being worthy of empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have experiences attached to that. You know, me being expelled from school when I was in first grade, right? Who gets expelled from school and you're 6 years old, right?
First grade?
First grade, I got expelled. And my mother had to go to the Board of Education to get me back in school. And they retained me in the first grade, right? And then I went on to make honor roll every 6 weeks for the remainder of my elementary school career. So whereas I was supposed to be tested for gifted, the reason why I was getting in trouble in class is because I wasn't challenged enough. So I was completing my assignments quickly. My handwriting was always very, very neat. Mm-hmm. And I always completed my assignments in a proficient manner. But my teacher at the time didn't see me as this little melanated boy who was worthy of being tested for gifted to be placed in a class or in an educational model that fit my abilities. So they damaged me. And this has happened to so many boys that look like me in America over time. But now it will never happen again.
Right.
We have evolved as a country, and trust me, we got people in every school system around the world, definitely in the United States, but we got eyes everywhere. It's not going down like that no more. It's not going down like that anymore. I'm just saying.
I'm glad that you didn't let that bring you down, because that's just another example of going through traumatic experiences throughout your whole life that make you a conscious and a spiritual warrior. You've had experiences that people probably will never experience. So that's another example that you've had. I just wanted to put that out there. And and also what you were saying about like it being cool not to show emotion, like I don't, like, really quickly, I'm just like, caring has been, showing that you care is looked like frowned upon. And I never got that. Like, I can't just tell someone I like them. I have to act like I don't for them to like me.
Wow.
Like, that is crazy.
That's crazy. Now that part is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yes.
I'll never understand it, but it's all good. Awesome. Well, Robert, thank you so much again for being on Surgery for the Soul podcast. We loved it. So good having you, and I hope to have you back.
All right. I would love to be back. Thank you for having me, beautiful. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you.
All right.